Hey everyone, this is Adam Excel again to tell you about the introduction to pivot tables. Now, pivot tables are instrumental for anyone who is in data analysis, who is in finance, who's in accounting, who's in business in general. If you're in analytics, knowing pivot tables is extremely important for the success of your career. Now, let me tell you, pivot tables are probably, in my opinion, the most useful tool in all of Excel. It just allows you to get the data as quick and efficient as possible, allowing you to slice and dice and cut the data in the way you need. So let's get to it. So in this view right here, you just see this is just a data dump. This isn't the pivot table, it's just a bunch of data that I got from my manager, let's say. Either you're working, maybe you get data that's similar from SQL or someone sent you the data on your team, or like you pull it from Essbase or SAP, whatever. You have a data dump of data, and in this data field, I have just to get you familiar, I have region, so North America, Asia, and Europe. I have year 2022 and 2023. Scenario, it's always actuals in this data set. I have the month of the year, the sales channel, so I could tell if it's between marketplace stores and e-commerce. I have sales and a value, which is the sales value in this case for each row. So let's get to it. So how do you make the pivot table and how is it going to be used? Well, first let's create the pivot table. We have to highlight all the data. So you could do Control Shift right and down to highlight everything if that makes it easier. I actually like to highlight the entire every single row in Excel just to make sure if I add rows in the future that I'm not missing anything. But that's a pro tip for later. So what you do is you just click pivot table and a pop-up comes up once everything's highlighted. And I'm going to click new worksheet because I don't have a specific location I want to place the pivot table. So now I have a new sheet. This is the, let's call it sales pivot tab. Okay, so now I got a sheet that says pivot table in it, and you have these fields on the right. So let's look at these fields. You have region, year, scenario, month, which should be very familiar to you because it's the exact same data that we're looking at here. Exact same columns, region, year, scenario, month, and so on. So essentially what this is on the right is all the columns that you had in your data set. And down below, you have what you want to filter on. You have the rows, columns, and values. So the rows and columns allow you to kind of place the data where you want it, so you could view it however you like. And I'll show you kind of how to play with that later. So let's start. Let's say I want to look at the sales by region. So I'm going to throw in region here, and we have blanks because I added all those rows after. So if I want, you could just filter that out. It doesn't really matter. And I'm going to add in the values, the dollar values, into the values section. So now what it's showing me is all the sales from each region. So now I have Asia, Europe, and North America. If you want, you could rank these. So you could do what I just did is I'm going to sum it by values. And now you could see if I go sum by values and then I say descending, the data is now organized from highest to lowest value. Now I kind of want to know what the sales are by year because there's multiple years in this database, right? So I'm going to put year in the columns. So now I could see the North America sales, the Europe sales, the Asia sales by year. In 2022, we had 24,152 in sales. And in 2023, we had 24,939 in sales. And what I want to do actually is place the month in the filter. That way, if my manager asks, hey, what were the sales in March for North America? I could go, okay, in the filter, I select March. So now we have the March data in North America, and I could tell him the exact number that he's looking for. And that's kind of how you could utilize the filter component. If we want, you could add more granularity or more columns. I don't just want to know the sales by region, I want to know the sales channel as well. So now I could see the North America e-commerce sales, marketplace sales, and store sales, along with Europe and Asia. But I don't really like this view, how it's set up. So I'm actually going to place the year in the filter and select 2023 because I only care about the 2023 data at the moment. So let's keep region in the rows, and I'm going to move sales channel to the columns just to give it a different visual. And that's kind of just a way you could play around with pivot tables. It's definitely something that you'll get more familiar with as you kind of do it yourself, but it's a really useful tool. If you do not know pivots very well, I highly, highly, highly recommend starting to begin understanding how to use it because it will become very important in your career and make things way easier for you. Again, this is Adam Excel. I appreciate you watching. Have a good day.